East as everything else came out. So
yeah,
let's go.
yeah. I had a lot of people reaching out, so I'm like, let's just do it. I'm going to do a podcast early. I'm going to get this one going. I know Scott and I discuss baseball all the time, and those of you who come up and sit with us or stand around us up there on the top of Section 3, you hear it. So now you're going to hear it live 85 days before opening day, and we're excited for this team. The goal of this episode here, we're just going to go through the preseason baseball. So we're going to go through some of the position players, who we think is going to start, who's going to get opportunities there. We're going to go through the pitchers, the starting pitchers, and the relief guys, and kind of just give you an idea who's on the roster this year. There's a ton of talent, but the limits of being down to 34 guys now, and that seems like that's going to be the limit moving forward. It's a tough to make those cuts and bring that down. I mean, you got so many guys, but let's start at catcher and Wilson Weber, right? He's kind of earned his way where he's probably going to get the first shot there.
I'm guessing the coaches made it pretty clear, coming out of last season, what direction they were going to move. We saw, a couple people move on. We saw, a couple people come in, but I think Weber's going to get the first chance to be back there playing every day. He proved, he's pretty lethal with the bat, and, kind of excited to see what he gets a chance to do.
Yeah, and a guy that surprisingly, led the team in triples and was lovingly nicknamed Wheels. Obviously, he's not the fastest guy, but the guy plays with a lot of heart. A lot of opportunity for him to really take a huge step up this year. He only finished, second in the Gatorade Player of the Year, and that was behind Mason Guerra, right? So he's got all the talent in the world. He's there. He's a senior. He's got this now. This is his team. Another guy that they're going to lean on, I think, a little bit is the transfer in Bryce Hubbard. This guy has all the tools. He started off at Mississippi State, didn't get many opportunities, transferred to JC ball. Now he's up here. This might be a new home for him, and he might be that next level of, the catchers that we see going on in the big leagues.
Sure, and he could definitely see some time at DH too, I think, if his bat plays what we think it's going to. Perfect pairing there with Wilson Weber being a righty, Hubbard coming in batting lefty. I'm sure that our coaches are going to have some fun playing with that and see what happens. I think Wilson's going to get the main shot, but we're going to see, both kids hopefully play a bunch.
Yeah, I think that those are the two main guys that we do have, like guys like Ryan Vanderbeek, who crushed in fall ball, really good freshman. And then you got Anthony Marnell the fourth. Like, you got some talent there at the catcher level, and I think we're set for a long time here. But I think that those are the two guys we're leaning at, saying these are the guys that are going to get the opportunity first. Wilson has proven himself. He's been that guy. He's sat behind Tanner Smith. He's played with Tanner Smith. He's done all the things he's done what they've asked him to do. He's going to get that opportunity first, I believe. And he could be a guy that hits 15 home runs, you think?
Oh, for sure. No, he's definitely got power. And I mean, he played summer ball, I think, did phenomenal in summer ball, hit a lot of home runs, played well, did that kind of stuff. So, I mean,
yeah,
it'll be fun to see what he gets to do with a chance where he's not looking over his shoulder every minute thinking, if I make one bad play or something like that, am I going to get taken out and not get put back in? So, we have a couple young freshmen that could step in, or, guys that I think, redshirt freshmen, whatever, that are going to get a chance to come in and show, hopefully get a little bit of play, hopefully midweek games, that kind of stuff at first, just to get a chance, some exposure to see where our future leads. And those guys could press hard, but I think Weber's going to get the first shot and really get a chance to play and see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, he played last summer on the East Coast in that terrific fall ball league, and he won postseason MVP. I mean, he's the guy moving forward, and I think everybody knows it. They know what's expected now, and he's going to take that role and move forward, especially with this terrific pitching staff that we'll talk about later. First base, I have Jacob Craig listed first. Listen, I really think that the big physical kid at first, and he's a terrific defensive player too. He doesn't lose anything at first for you. Really good defensively. His swing and miss rate's high. It's a little high. It's up there near 26%. Too high for me. But the guy can straight up crush the ball, Scott.
Yeah. I remember watching him as a freshman. I thought he had a great two-strike approach. Kind of, he wasn't afraid to take pitches and do that stuff. And then, it seemed like as a freshman, every hit he got was with 2 strikes. And so he's somebody that I think hopefully can get back to that a little bit, kind of being a little bit more patient, not, just coming out of his shoes and everything. And I think that'll come with just being out there every day. We've seen a lot of Beavers over the past that, work their way through their sophomore or freshman year. And then all of a sudden their junior year, they come in there and we're like, where did this guy come from? Trevor Larnach, Michael Gretler, a bunch of those guys played really well over the years that just take a big step forward. And Bazana took a huge step forward from year 2 to year 3. So everybody knew he was a stud, but you don't know how good they're going to be. So I wouldn't be surprised if Craig takes that big step forward. And defensively, I mean, who doesn't want to throw him the ball? His stretch at first base, he's getting out there and he's reaching that ball way earlier than, somebody who's not 6'5", 240 is going to reach out there and get the ball. And I really like his stretch, the way he receives the ball at first base. I think his defense is going to surprise a lot of people. I mean, watching him last year, I think he played really well.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised last year in his opportunities. I know he lost some of those opportunities late with them trying to mix guys in and getting Caraway back at third and trying to move Mason around and trying to figure out what to do. Mason's gone. Craig has nobody there with him. The competition for him might be in the form of Tice Peterson, who's been kind of a DH utility role. Maybe he's the guy that spells him a little bit. I know that we both love Tice. He's just been all over the board performance-wise. So, he had 2 home run game, and then he goes 0 for his next 20. What kind of Tice Peterson are we going to get? Because this guy has a ton of talent. It's just been inconsistent so far as a Beaver.
Sure. So, I mean, I think he could get some play there. I think that Leo Coate might come in and, get a chance to play a little bit back up, do that kind of stuff. And just a guy who is built to play. I mean, a big-bodied kid and that kind of stuff who's going to come in and probably get a little bit of look at third base and first base back up. Peterson could definitely be that guy. Peterson might play some second, He's one of those guys. I mean, last year he played a lot of DH for us and whatnot. So we'll kind of see where it all shakes out. I mean, there's so much to be determined. It's going to be fun to watch, and the coaches are going to have their hands full, like you said, trying to cut down to 34. But I mean, I just think you look at Craig's big frame at 6'5" and go, how do we not, how is that not impressive at first base? And speaking of 6'5" guys on the infield, I mean, Arquette coming in, it's another guy that's built almost as big as Jacob Craig, and he's playing up the middle. We'll get to him in a minute, but yeah. I mean, don't get lost in how big these kids are.
It really, over the years, you've looked at the Beaver infield and it's been like these little guys and small guys across the board. We're like, okay, we love our Jabin Troskys, right? This year, you look out there and you go, oh man, you got Craig at first. He's huge. He's 6'5". You go across to Caraway probably at third, and we'll get to him in a minute. He's huge. He's tall. Then you're going Arquette at shortstop. He's 6'4". You're going, man, and AJ Singer there. We got some big guys in the infield. Let's move to the middle infield. Arquette, transfer in from Washington, all-league player at Washington, terrific guy, had 12 home runs up there. This is a guy that is the #1 transfer player in the country coming over right now, and he chose Oregon State over everybody else, and he's getting the opportunity most likely at shortstop or second base, but he's going to start somewhere for this team.
Yeah, I mean, we have a big hole to fill, I mean, losing Travis Bazana, it's going to be a big hole to bring somebody in that's going to play and do that kind of stuff. So I was pretty pleased that we were able to, work it out to bring a kid like this in. And, he obviously was from, playing in the Northwest. I think he's from Hawaii. So playing here is going to be cool. It'll be fun to see. I'm excited to get eyes on him and get to watch him play and move and, all that stuff. But all the reports are glowing.
Yeah, and I got to see him quite a bit at Washington. He's got really smooth feet, quiet hands. I mean, the guy looks like he plays like a Panther. He's just smooth across the diamond, really good defensively. Probably more or less might shift to second base at the next level, but his bat is where it's at. I mean, this guy can hit for what he is, and he's only the tip of his iceberg. This guy could be a 20 home run guy. If he gets the right opportunity, he gets the right season going, he really could be a double-digit home run producer. Let's go to Trotsky. Jabin Trotsky has been in the program now. This is year 4. He's had some injuries. He's had an elbow injury. Every time the guy gets an opportunity, though, Scott, he plays terrific, and he plays with his heart. He is a Beaver fan favorite, no doubt.
He's definitely scrappy. I mean, he's just one of these guys that every at-bat, he's going to scrap it out, and he's going to, battle, get up there. Everybody loves his defense. He's one of those guys that, ultimately I see if he doesn't win a job, he's going to be a super sub. He's going to play second base, shortstop, probably filling at third, maybe come in for some defensive positioning late in games. He's finally hopefully healthy. Losing his 2023 year was challenging. So now he's back, played well last year when we, needed him. When injuries happened, he was always there for us. So, it'll just be interesting to see how good some of these other kids are, whether or not they can get a chance to play in front of them. You know, we're going to have a lot of decisions to make and that kind of stuff. But Trotsky can play anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, if he's playing second or if he's playing short, we're going to be having great defense. I really think our defense this year is going to surprise people.
Yeah, I think that we get back to the old Beavers defense where you're talking about a top 5 defense, fielding percentage wise, and really getting after it. And Trotsky could be that guy. He could be a late game guy. He could be a starter. One of the guys that's going to push him for some time is JC transfer from Arizona. AJ Singer played at one of the best programs in the country last year and comes in, transfers in. He's been getting some good looks in fall ball. He's had some good at bats. The guy is a prototypical baseball player build there, like the 6 foot, 200 pounds. Like he just looks like he's ready to roll at this D1 level. He could be a double-digit home run guy, but I don't know if he's going to get that spot over Trotsky right away.
Sure, I think his main key is the speed. He seems fast. You know, one of those guys that if he's up to bat, you're going to have to sling it first. You're going to have to make sure that if he's on the bases, that kind of stuff. So. Coaches love those kind of guys, so I think that it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out, who plays where, and I think over the start of the season we'll probably see a number of guys get a chance until they decide exactly where everybody's playing. But he's a guy that could step in and play short or play second and come in and play for us. So we have defensive guys. We've got a lot of – I think our middle infield is going to be really powerful.
Yeah. And there's more guys we'll mention later in like the Adam Heights of the world, but I'm going to talk about him when we get down to DH level. But yeah, there's guys in this spot. I mean, the problem is it's a great problem to have. Mitch has got to go out there and throw 9 guys out there every day, and he could really start just a ginormous number of these guys. One guy that's going to find his way in the lineup and could have been the MVP of the Cape Cod League last year, Trent Caraway. He's the third baseman. He's going to get that opportunity. Due to an injury last year, otherwise he would have been up there for freshman of the year. He would have had the opportunity to start from day one at third base for this team. That's how good this kid is. He could have been drafted in the first round, and he probably will be after this year. He's draft eligible.
Yeah, we definitely have a long history of freshman All-Americans. And, man, he came out from the first day I saw him at the Diamond Dinner. I was like, this guy's a dude. Like, just the way he carries himself, just the way he interacted with his teammates, the way he interacted with the fans, that kind of stuff. I really thought that he was going to come in and just rake for us. And he came in and played right off the bat, was playing great, hitting the ball, doing good, and then a freak injury, you know, and it just took him a long time to heal. And then, you know, he's done great at Cape Cod, and I think he's going to come in and play super. I think he's going to be really good. I'm kind of a little nervous that we may only get 1 year out of him, you know, because I know he's a draft eligible sophomore. So, you know, there's always a chance that, you know, he's going to come in and just play so well that he gets to go right into that next step. And that's what everybody points to. So I'm excited for him to get an opportunity to be healthy, to get out there. I think he's going to, you know, surprise people. I know last year he had a couple hard throws where he was saying his, you know, finger was still numb from breaking it and it was rolling off that finger and that kind of stuff. And so I think he's going to be out there every day. I think he's going to play really well for us. And I think he'll hold up really well defensively at third base.
Yeah, I think that he's a lot better at third baseman than people gave him credit for last year, and he was dealing with that hand injury and that finger injury. And, you know, the guy played shortstop in high school, and then they're at Oregon State. Like, no, you're playing third. Listen, you're going to play third. You're going to rake. This is a guy that could be a 20 home run plus guy. He's also looked at and possibly being in the top 10 picks of next year. So is Arquette. And another guy, Gavin Turley, that we'll talk about here in a little bit. Those could be 3 players that are potentially top 10, at least first round guys being taken in the draft out of this class here. A guy that we mentioned earlier, though, Leo Coate could be backing him up a little bit. Levi Jones could get some play there at third as well as in the outfield. There's a lot of talent there that could back him up, but I feel like this is Caraway's job.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they find time for Levi Jones. I mean, he's a guy that I remember watching play, you know, for the Knights before he played, you know, his first year at Oregon State. And obviously the coaches saw something in him if they're going to bat him against Arkansas in the bottom of the ninth, you know, bring him in and play. And so I think he's got a world of potential. You know, he's one of those guys I think could take a big step forward if he's given an opportunity. That's going to be the big thing for him, is whether or not he gets a chance to play. Coates probably the same way. You know, we've got a lot of big kids between Arquette and Craig and Caraway and Coate.
Yeah.
You know, all these guys, like, we've got some bodies out there that are going to not only, you know, impress you with their ability to play baseball, but just their physique and that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, the thing you look about too that we've talked about so far, a lot of these guys have been in the program a long time, right? So they've been around, they understand what's expected of them. Everybody that we've mentioned, other than Arquette, and Singer, these guys have been in the program. They know what's expected of them. They know what they're supposed to do when they show up every day. Mitch has them all set up. Let's move to the outfield though. We got a few guys out here that could start. Left field, though, I just believe they're going to put Dallas Macias out there, sit him in left, and say, hey, this is your job. You get left all year. You're going to be up there. You're going to be one of the top 3 hitters in this team also. If you're talking about the talent that we have across the board, you also got to love the leadership and stuff you get from Dallas Macias.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think our outfield is going to be phenomenal. Macias and Turley. And I mean, like you said, I think if you just gave him a position every day, he's got the ability to play center field. Macias does if he really needed to be out there. But, I think like you said, put him in left, let him play every day, probably put Turley in right. And then let's see who's ready to step up. I mean, I'd love to see Cannon Reeder play up to his ability. I mean, there's a guy who's got just a world of athleticism, covers some ground, great arm, probably as much speed as you've seen in a long time from an outfielder at Oregon State. So we'll see who wins that out. I mean, Talt played great whenever he was given a chance last year. So I don't know if one of these guys is going to end up carrying over to DH or just play every day. And, we got a lot of opportunities here. So.
Yeah, and you nailed it, right? So the 2 guys in the center that we're probably looking at, Cannon Reeder, one of the fastest guys. He put on 15 pounds of muscle, Scott, in the offseason. He got bigger. I think he heard the rumblings that, hey, this guy may not be able to hit the ball hard enough at the D1 level. He certainly can now. Up here when he was at the preseason game against Gonzaga, he hit a ball out of left center that was absolutely hammered.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to talk about the ball he hit.
Oh man, he looks healthy. He looks like he's in a good mental state. Easton Talt has been everything you ask of a Beaver baseball player. He shows up, he does the little things right. He bunts when you ask him to. He puts the ball in play. He can hit a home run. He's fast. He's a utility player. Center field might be his opportunity. It might be between him and Cannon when they get down to it and find out which one of those guys is going to start. Well, Easton might get the DH spot also, but I really like what I see from Easton Talt as well.
Yeah. I think, every year we see someone step up, come out of nowhere, kind of play more. I mean, Macias last year, as soon as we had an injury, jumped right in there and started playing. And once he started playing, he was never coming out of the lineup. I think we see that every year from someone. Like I mentioned earlier, we always have somebody that has been in the program for a little while and then has matured and developed, and all of a sudden, boom, here they are. And so it's going to be exciting to see who that player is for us this year. I mean, I could make some guesses, but I think that, we're going to always be surprised. So
we'll get to that. We'll get to that later on. We're going to make some predictions here at the end of the show. Gavin Turley, another super highly recruited guy. This guy is another top 10, at least first round talent. He's a true 5-tool player. They say they shortened up the swing a little bit. It looked great up here. I think that this guy could really be our next big power hitter. He could be a 30 home run hitter, honestly. He's going to break the career record that was just set last year by Trav. I see the world for this kid, and he's also a nice young man. He seems to really care about the game, cares about the community, loves being here in Corvallis. This is the last year we're going to see him, though, so hopefully we take advantage of it.
Oh, for sure. No, I think he's loving it here. I think he likes Northwest, messaged him a little bit about fishing and stuff like that, my passion. So I still hopefully will see him out in the river one of these days. But I think like you said, he's going to break the record, barring some kind of, massive unforeseen something. But I think he's going to break that record that we just saw Bazana break the other day, the other year. So he has a world of potential. I think if he takes a step forward, and he's got all the ability in the world to take that step forward and be that team leader. It's his team now. They're going to, revolve around him. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. And the ability that he's been in there, these guys have all played in regionals and super regionals. They've all been given opportunities for postseason play. This is the season, right? They're built for it. These guys are not freshmen. These guys are super talented. They have some talented freshmen behind them. Let's talk about some of them. I think the DH position is open, right? I think that probably Talt, maybe Levi Jones, maybe Coate, maybe Peterson, Hubbard, those guys that we've already mentioned. Let's talk about some new guys. I really liked what I saw from Adam Height. I think that he has a lot of potential. Carson McIntyre has a lot of potential. Backup catcher Ryan Vanderbrink. These guys are guys that would start pretty much any other program in the country. And we're talking they might not get an opportunity or might get a DH for this team.
Sure. I think there's a lot of kids on this team that would be playing in most of the other programs, at least on the West Coast, if not all across the United States. So it's going to be a big battle to see who gets that DH job. Like I said, maybe Adam Height may be the guy that just comes out there and has such a bat that we want to see him hit and that kind of stuff. Or, it could be guys that, like Peterson, who's been there, who's done it, kind of takes that next step, or Talt if he doesn't play. So we'll just see. I mean, obviously, it's either going to be someone who's getting pushed out of their position by somebody playing in front of them, or it's going to be one of these new young guys. It's great. So,
absolutely. I think there's just so much talent out there. I know a lot of people probably don't know a ton about Carson McIntyre. This guy is another huge, tall guy, can play the outfield, can really play. The outfield's pretty loaded this year, so I don't think he's going to get his opportunity there, but he might get an opportunity DHing. He's really good, and I really like what I see from him. Ryan Vanderbeek, again, I like him. I think it's tough as a freshman to get in there and get these at-bats with so many talented guys ahead of you, but I think that he's right there. All right. The question that everybody and their mother keeps asking me is, who's the starting rotation going to be? Who's the weekend rotation going to be? Those three guys. We're going to give you 6, okay, folks, because there's so much talent on this pitching staff. This might be the most talented pitching staff Oregon State has ever had. Yes, you can argue with me. I know there's been some really talented teams. Scott, I know you've seen a lot of talented squads. Pure talent-wise, I'm saying that this might be the most talented top to bottom with relievers and starters. Why don't you go ahead and give me a name of a starter you think might be one of those weekend rotation guys?
My thought is that Nelson Keljo is going to be our Friday guy. I mean, watching him play, watching the way he, nobody has the stuff he has. I mean, we've got a lot of guys that have stuff, but that's my prediction is Keljo is going to be there. Big, strong lefty. Got the body to be out there, to be throwing. It looks like, he's going to be out there. And so that's my thought is he's going to be our Friday guy.
Nelson has earned it, right? And if he's Friday or Saturday, I believe he's part of the weekend rotation. I think that it'd be really hard for me to say this guy's not going to get an opportunity to pitch on the weekend and be one of the stud pitchers. He's been a reliever his first 2 years, big lefty. He's got huge stuff. Guy looks like all he does is work out in the weight room. I mean, he's a giant, and I really like what his stuff is. He seems to have gotten this demeanor about himself where he knows he can throw strikes and beat guys. He used to think he had to beat guys up out of the zone. He's throwing it in the zone and saying, you hit it, figure it out. You try to hit what I'm throwing at you. And I like that approach. Another guy who did it as a freshman, and we had him at the dinner. We had him at the dinner. He was our server. It was great getting to catch up with Eric a little bit. Eric Segura, terrific weekend approach there. He was a Sunday guy last year. He has the ability to be that guy and be that person in this and maybe take on that leadership role as a sophomore now. There's a lot of other guys, but I like Eric Segura as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was one of those guys that I don't think we saw him, 85 days out last year. I don't think we saw him in the weekend rotation. But, some injuries fell to some of the guys we're going to talk about in a minute here. And he stepped up and he was solid for us. He was in that weekend rotation all year. Couldn't ask for more than we got from him. I think that the Beavers went out and played behind him and he pitched well enough to get us the W's, so I'm impressed with him. He's done everything he needs to do to be in the weekend rotation for sure. And, if they end up, pushing him to earlier in the week or whatever, that would, if he goes to Friday, it wouldn't surprise me, but I definitely think he'll probably be a Saturday, Sunday guy if you ask me.
Yeah, I have him slated in right now. I think he's probably the Saturday guy, unless they decide that they want to go righty, lefty, righty. Speaking of those guys, a couple guys that pitched this summer for the Knights and were terrific and really could have had bigger seasons for the Beavs last year, was it not for injuries. Leif Palmer, James Kramer, these are two guys. Leif Palmer was slated to possibly be on the weekend rotation last year until he had a thumb injury and just really never got it going, right? He just couldn't quite figure it out. Great stuff. He throws upper 90s. James Kramer, same thing, mid 90s. They both have a ton of stuff and they both have a ton of talent. One of these guys, if they pitch their way into it, they could sneak their way into the weekend rotation as well.
No, I mean, Leif would have been one of those guys we were all saying last year was going to be that, Sunday guy come in behind the two studs we had and was going to be, least a Tuesday guy, that kind of thing. And, unfortunately an injury set on him early and, he just never really got back. But you could see it. He pitched well for the Knights this summer. It's one of those guys that has stuff. So, I mean, if he can harness what he can do, he was the guy kind of like Dax Whitney when I'm shocked we got Dax Whitney through the draft. I sweated the first 2 rounds of the draft, just hoping his name wasn't called and that we would get him here. He's a guy that could step in and be a instant weekend guy. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he got one of those spots, but it's not like we just need, 3 guys. We're probably going to start 4 in the first couple weekends, playing 4-game series, that kind of stuff. So I think that, Dax Whitney is one of those guys, could be the next guy, but that's where we thought Palmer was last year. So Palmer could come in and be the guy that we thought he was last year and could be unbelievable. I mean, I'm excited. Like you said, we have pitching. And I mean, over the last couple of years, we haven't had a lot of left-handed arms. We got more this year. It's going to be exciting to see. I mean, they're going to have their job cut out for them to figure out exactly where all these guys sit in the line and that kind of stuff.
Rich has got his work cut out for him. Like you mentioned, Dax Whitney, freshman from Idaho. I was sitting in studio doing the live show during the MLB draft, and my goodness, I was just on pins and needles for some of these guys waiting to see where they were going. I got some word early that Dax was not going to sign, that he was going to come to Oregon State, and I was going crazy because I was like, this is the guy. And talking to Rich about him, when you look at the stats and you look at the ability and the size and everything and the maturity as a freshman, he went out there in fall ball and he had the hardest throwing baseball out of any of these guys. He threw 98 miles an hour, Scott, and he throws downhill at you. He brings it. This is a future first round, maybe even another future first pick overall. And you're talking about, he's got to beat some guys out to get that weekend rotation spot. He's really uber talented.
No, for sure. I mean, you just look at this and look at the depth we have and these kids coming in. It's going to be interesting to see where they all shake out and what they do. Ethan Kleinsmith, I mean, coming in from LBCC, is another guy that, like, pure video game numbers at LBCC, like, just crazy. So another left-handed arm coming in here. He's going to have a role, and he's going to have a role pitching for us somewhere. Mm-hmm. I think in the past you've mentioned, Ben Ferrer coming in, junior college kid coming in and just like was such a contributor for us that, I don't think Ethan's going to blow people away with high 90s stuff. I think his stuff sits, high 80s, low 90s, but he struck out 120 kids last year. And, I think he gave up 36 hits. That's just insane. Like, who does that? So
just over 1.5 ERA, and he's sitting there. And Andy Peterson couldn't have said that he's a nicer kid. Like, they just loved him over there.
So if you tell me he's coming in as a weekend guy, it wouldn't surprise me. Any of these 6 guys, if you told me this is going to be our Saturday, Sunday guy, I'm stoked to watch to see what they can do.
Yeah, and they're all going to get opportunities, whether it's midweek, like you said, we start off in some tournaments. There's some 4-day series. There's going to be lots of opportunities to get those pitchings, get innings. All these guys are going to earn innings, whether they're long relief or they're starters. I think that they're going to accept their role. They're all battling for those starting spots. But I know that the coaches are very communicative with these guys and telling them where they're at. So they're going to know when they head into that first weekend where they're going to be slated as far as pitching goes. I think you could take any of these 3 guys, pull them out of a hat. I think as long as Keljo's in that weekend rotation, I'd be happy with any of the other ones getting opportunities, honestly.
No, for sure.
So let's move on to some relievers. And like we mentioned, we haven't had a ton of lefties in the bullpen. Another guy out there, Max Frazier, he's transferring in. He's got a lot of talent. He's got the ability there to just give us innings right now. You got guys like Matthew Morrell, A.J. Hutchison has tons of innings. Grandpa Munt, he's coming back.
Yeah,
year number 7. How do we feel about that? I'll let you talk a little bit about Joey.
I mean, it's going to be exciting to see him do yet another senior season. Like, I'm laughing because I think when we played Auburn, he was sitting up in the stands with us, sitting right next to us in the stands, watching the game as a fan, like we all were, because, he'd been injured and out for that year. And I mean, he was sitting there and being silly with his friends and that kind of stuff. So, putting sunflower seeds all over the back of his friend's jacket. And I mean, just super funny. I mean, how do you not love a guy like this? He's going to come in and give us the veteran leadership in that bullpen. He's seen it all. I can't remember if he was on the 09 in the, championship team in 19, but it seems like that was about when he started for us. So tons of experience, leadership, all that stuff we want. And it'll be fun to see him get a chance. And, like I said, we brought in the closer from Portland. We got to see him close out, I don't know, a dozen or 10 games last year. I can't remember the exact stat, but I know he closed a lot of games for them. So he has been there. He's had that experience. We got guys that we've had for, the last couple of years, Morrell and Hutchinson and Talavs and Ferguson and, Kellen Oakes was great at times last year. So, we got arms out there that it'll be fun to see, what chance they get, exactly how that bullpen, whether or not who's going to be the final guy in the ninth and who's going to be the eighth inning guy. It'll be fun to see.
Yeah, there's just so many arms, right? And so I think what's going to end up happening with this bullpen is you're going to ride the hot arm, right? And Keljo was one of the guys last year. He got hot. That's who you started throwing out there all the time in those pressure situations. It could honestly be any of these guys because freshman year, A.J. Hutchison, he was right there. I thought he was going to be the next guy, and then last year he takes a little minor step back. He got hit a little bit. People got some tape on him. Matthew Morrell could be, he's a football player also. The guy's got all the talent, but now he's full baseball. Love it. Kellen Oakes is a guy that throws hard. Drew Talavs, he throws almost 100 miles an hour when he gets after it. Like, this is a guy that can really burn up a bullpen. And you're talking these guys might be able to just go 3 outs, throw them out there and throw as hard as you can for 3 outs. Man, I really like the depth, the ability, the skills that this team has this year. I don't think you're going to go wrong with the arms. I think that we've had question marks in the bullpen for, this last few years, and I don't think there's any question marks this year. I think you have a lot of talent there, and you're not necessarily worried about any of these guys coming in and throwing for you right now.
It'll be fun to see kind of, like I said, how it shakes out, who takes a step forward. I have a feeling more than one of these guys is going to take a step forward from where they were last year and come in and be dominant and do that.
It wouldn't surprise me if this is a top 5 ERA team also. This could be another top 5 defense, top 5 ERA team, and just really get after the competition with the pitching and defense. And then the hitting is going to come along and just blow teams out. I think this team has every opportunity to be great. And looking at this schedule, I think that it's just going to be really, really, really good and trying to figure this one out. We're going to talk about schedule next, but Chinook seeds, guys. If you guys have not gone out and purchased yourself some Chinook seeds, go online, go to Chinook Seedery, go take them out. If you use the code CBC10 or CBC, you get 10% off your whole order. They got a ton of different varieties of seeds. I'm going to be working with them, Scott. I'm going to be down in Corvallis on April 5th. We're going to have a booth out there. We're going to be giving away a ton of seeds. We're going to be giving away some prizes. Can't wait. Chinook Seeds, if you have not gone to Chinook Seedery and gone online and taken a look at them, go take a look. They have some great stuff. 10% off if you use that code CBC. They got some terrific seeds, Scott. And I know I'm giving you some more, so I'm sending you a bunch.
No, I can't wait. They're great stuff, and I'm a huge seed guy, and I'm going to mark that on my calendar that they're going to be there in April. So
April 5th, we're going to be there with the booth outside. Let's talk about the schedule here. I know a lot of folks and a lot of Beaver fans were pretty skeptical. They were pretty nervous there. There was an early schedule release that was sent out that was not supposed to be sent out at the time it was. They made some adjustments to it. 20 home games. It's a tough look there, but the RPI numbers are going to be just skyrocketed with those 36 road games.
Sure.
Or
we definitely have, Colin surprise a road game, a neutral site or road game, or calling some of those games where we're going to go to Texas and play in front of big, SEC crowds that are going to travel well. I mean, last year playing a neutral site game against Arkansas there was not, a true neutral site game, but, it'll be fun. Those are the experiences our team needs. So we knew that losing our conference and going independent and doing that stuff was going to be challenging. So we had to go out and make up a schedule in short notice. A lot of these schedules are set 2-3 years in advance, and we're trying to say, hey, who are we going to play? We're trying to find people that have openings. And I think if we continue down this independent schedule, I think next year our schedule will be easier. We'll get more teams to travel. We'll get more teams. Are we ever going to see the SEC schools come to Oregon and play a weekend series? Probably not. Those guys don't leave home ever unless it's conference play. So,
yeah,
it's an uphill battle to get somebody to come to Oregon and play, but we got 20 home games, a lot of neutral site games. That was, let's go Beaver fans, get down there to Surprise, get down there to Texas and watch some great baseball and support our team. And, so it'll be fun. It'll be neat to see. It's going to be great for the RPI to be on the road a lot and winning games. And I think it's going to be a good builder for confidence for our team. I felt like last year when we went on the road and played, in the supers, it was kind of a little overwhelming to us to be down there and play. And I don't know if all of our kids are ready, but I bet you this year with the schedule we have set up, our kids are going to be ready to travel and ready to play.
Yeah, and it's huge for the RPI. I think Mitch has done a terrific job on a little bit of short notice and not really knowing when they were going to be independent, when they could start going out there and scheduling some of these games. I'm excited for a bunch of these, and you look at it, 20 home games. Okay, giving the Beavs fans a chance, and there's no postseason really necessarily until they get to the actual real postseason. So there's no tournament play. There's nothing else outside of that. So the biggest thing was that, the gap in April to May, and they just had to get games in there. So they had to go play teams. They have to go on the road. We talked about it. SEC teams are not going to come up here during season. They're just not. Once league starts, they're not going to come up here. They're not going to travel up here. They're not going to come up here in the March time. They don't want to do it. So it's going to be just difficult trying to find some of these teams you want to play, but you're playing a lot of tournament teams from last year. A lot of teams that made the tournament, a lot of teams that made a lot of noise last year, and you're going to go play them. And teams that were right on the cusp of making this. What's the favorite series for you? Which one are you most looking forward to, Scott?
I think those two Texas series where we're going down and playing in the Round Rock Classic and the what's the other one's called off the top of my head? I'm missing it. The other Texas series, we're playing two down there, and I think we're going to play Auburn again and, play Ohio State and a bunch of teams. So I think we got those two are probably my favorite series to see. We're getting these kids a chance to play in a pro ballpark, that kind of thing's going to be fun. It's got to be a big moment for them.
Yeah, I like those two. I like going down to Texas early. I like going down to Surprise. I like getting those games in where it's guaranteed decent weather. Last year, Texas was a little colder than normal. People were not excited for that. They were not so happy with that night game being 40 degrees. I look at a couple that I'm really, really excited for. UCI at home. I think that one is that April 4th through 6th series where we get a little repeat of what happened in the regional last year. You get another good team there. You're at home. It's a good test there in April to see where you're at. At Hawaii in May, I will be there. I'm very excited for that one. I get to go to Les Mariaca Stadium, and I'm going to go do a stadium tour and do all the stuff with Hawaii and get to watch the Beavs take on them. That's at Hawaii was so close to being a tournament team last year. If there was not so many good teams already in that Western Conference side and how many teams were good out of that bracket already and they were having to deal with that, they had to deal with Santa Barbara, they had to deal with UCI, they had to deal with San Diego, UCSD, so many teams that were already being looked at out here. Hawaii is a team that's a tournament team this year for me. I think that they're right there. I think this is an important series. And then at Oregon, I think that that series they're playing 3 there, PK Park. I know you and I have been there for those games. And then they're going to play 1 at home. That's important because I think Oregon's going to be a top 15 ball club also.
Yeah, I think that Hawaii series is probably my favorite for the team. Yeah. Here's how do you build a team and really get them sold on, traveling and doing stuff. You take them to Hawaii for a week, and I think that's what they're going to do is take them back there, let them have a couple fun days, let them play a lot of baseball. That's going to be a great team building experience for them, that kind of thing. So, my thoughts are we have a lot of great series and that kind of stuff. Like you said, the Oregon series, that's going to be, my toughest road opponent, that's going to be the game that we're going to have to go find. We're going to find out a lot about us, we'll fill it. That's the nice thing about Beaver fans is we're going to fill that stadium, make it 50-50. But it'll be fun. I always travel with a big group, try to buy 20 or 30 tickets for every game down there, bring a bunch of people, fill it up, make us loud, try to turn it into a semi-home game. But that's going to be a big series. They're going to be, like you said, they're going to be a really good team. They want to prove that they're on our level, and it's been something they've tried to do for years, and we've kind of fended them off, and it'll be a fun road series followed by, like you said, a Tuesday game here at home. So honestly, that series
could be one of the determining factors for who's going to be a national seed. If you look at the records, Oregon's going to get 36 games at home. That's crazy. That's the most that they've ever had at home in that ballpark. It's going to be insane this year for them. You're looking at this series and you go, if either one of these teams sweeps that series or really takes and dominates it, they could be making themselves out to be the national seed and saying, hey, we're a top 8 seed. This is why. Here it is. And I know it's at the end of April, but it's going to mean a lot in the eyes of voters. It's going to mean a lot in the eyes of the committee. I'm really excited for this one. They love to see these top 10 matchups where teams are playing each other that are that good. And I think this one matters a ton. So I'm very excited for this one. I do also. I'm high on the Hawaii team. I'm telling you, the Hawaii Warriors are going to be. They're up there. The pitching staff was one of the top 10 ERAs in the country last year, and they kept everybody. So I think that they're going to be really, really good this year, Scott.
I think you're right. I think they should have been a tournament team last year. I think that, we kind of unfortunately see that East Coast bias sneak in, and some teams like that probably would have got in if they were, in Louisiana, they probably make it in. But, that's my feeling. But I mean, they had the body of work to be there and do that kind of stuff. And it'll be a challenging series. It'll be a, fun, it'll be a fun tournament. It'll be a fun weekend in Hawaii for our kids, and it'll be some tough baseball too. So it'll be that letting them have fun, but knowing they need to get out there and play.
Yeah, and looking at this schedule, so 56 games, just 20 at home. I look at it, and people have asked how many do they have to win to make the tournament? How many do they have to win to host? How many do you have to win to be the national seed? I'll go first on this one, Scott, and I'm going to ask you the same question. I think with that many games, if they win 38, they're in the tournament. I think with the schedule and the RPI and where they're going to play teams and the caliber of teams that they're playing, 38 gets you into the postseason. I think they got to win 42 to host and 45 to be a national seed. But I'll lean on you and see what you think. I know we've seen this team win that many games. I think that this team has that ability.
Sure, we got to control what we can control. We got to go out and win our games. We don't have to worry about somebody beating us in conference to have just a better record or that kind of thing. Being independent, we're going to have to do what we can do. We have a lot of big road games, so those are all going to boost our RPI. I honestly think that we're going to get there. I think we're going to be a host team. I think we will host at least the first round of the regionals and see where it goes from there. I mean, this team has the ability. Like you said, we have the arms, we have the pitching. The defense is going to be great, and I don't think a lot of people are questioning our bats. No. So I don't see a lot of holes in this team right now. So, getting out there, playing on the road, going and playing all these places is just going to really develop our kids, really have us ready to do that. I felt like last year we kind of struggled on the road, and it showed when we got to supers, So hopefully we go out there and hit the ground running and play hard and win right off the bat and get all these road games under our belts. And then if we end up travel somewhere, even if our first travel in the playoffs is going to Omaha, it'll be fun to get somebody, these kids won't be overwhelmed by walking into a big stadium like that.
Absolutely. And I think it's going to come down to what the committee believes. And, I've had long talks with the committee members. I've had long talks with their chairman. They really believe that, RPI, playing teams on the road and winning ball games is what matters, and I think that's what they're in favor. But it's going to be put to the test. They're going to have to go through and say, what do we do with the team with an independent schedule? It's the first time in a long time there's been a baseball team with an independent schedule going in here, and we have to try to evaluate them and say, where are they at? And I think Oregon State has a pedigree. I think that they have the national recognition. I think that they're going to be fine on that aspect. It's just got to win games and taking care of business, going out there and beating who's in front of you, like you said. Who is your breakout player of the year? I know we always say who's the best player of the year, who's going to win. Listen, we have so much talent this year. There's so many guys you could pick here. Who's going to be that next step? Who's going to be that next guy that we look at and go, he took that step as a Beaver and really helped us out in this season?
Sure. For me, that guy is Nelson Keljo. I think he's going to step up. Watching him pitch last year, he became the guy for us late in the season. I think he got a couple starts. They might have been, a couple innings, that kind of stuff last year. But I think that he's going to step in, be our Friday guy, a Saturday guy, whatever that is. But I think he's going to be that arm that comes out and really shows what he's capable of, really steps up, does that kind of stuff. I mean, we could list all kinds of players, but I think he's going to be that one guy that I would pick that I think is going to take a step forward and really be that solid weekend guy for us.
I got two. I liked our Leif Palmer talk earlier, and I think that we're both high on him. And if he gets that opportunity to get in the weekend, he could be an All American caliber player. He has that ability. He has that gumption. He has that mental makeup. Jacob Craig is my guy. I'm leaning on Craig hard here. I really believe that this is a guy that can hit 25 home runs. I think he drops the strikeout rate. I think he has a little bit better approach. I think he's shortened things up a little bit. No big stride there. I think he's going to get after it. I think his hands are in the right spot. I think that his swing is just a little bit better this year. I am so excited to see what this young man can do and get after the baseball, because he really could be. It wouldn't surprise me if he led the team in home runs, but you're talking about he'd have to out hit Turley and Caraway and Arquette and even the Webbers,
Sure.
But I love what Jacob Craig brings in. I think him at first base just solidifies everything that goes on in the infield. I think he's going to be a reason why this is a top 5 defense in the country this year.
I definitely think he's going to surprise a lot of people. I mean, being there at the games and watching the way he moves at first base, the way, like I said, just that reach. I mean, being tall and reaching out, he's getting that ball. It might be a split second early, but it's definitely early, reaching out there and doing that stuff. So I think he's going to surprise people on defense. I think we're going to have someone, I don't know who yet, is going to come out and completely surprise us. It happens every year. Every year we see somebody come out that we didn't necessarily think was going to take that big step in between seasons and take that next step. And I mean, whether that's Cannon Reeder, who just surprises us, whether getting to watch Caraway at third the whole season and see what he's really capable of, Gavin Turley could take that next step forward. I mean, we have so many guys. Somebody's going to surprise us. There's going to be a freshman whose name I haven't mentioned yet that's going to be a dominant player for us in the bullpen, of a great, player for us off the bench that comes in midway through the season and we just can't take him out. I don't think anybody saw Tice Peterson playing DH for us as many games as he did last year, but he did. He came in and played well. Hopefully he can build on that. Somebody's going to do something that's going to surprise us.
One of the great things about watching this Beaver team year in, year out is that somebody steps up and just fills that role that you just didn't know we needed, and then they do it like Macias did last year.
Sure.
I really leaned on thinking about calling this the Dallas Macias Award and trying to figure out who it was, but we've had so many guys do it in the past that I couldn't single it out and just put it on Dallas. Final predictions, Scott. I know we both believe that this team is capable of a lot. I'll let you go first, and then I'll say my piece on this one.
Sure. I definitely think we win enough games, whether that's, 42, 44, 40, whatever, that we go out and we win those games and we end up hosting at least the regional round. I think that RPI wise, we should be right there. It's going to take some wins. It's going to take us surprising some teams, and it'll take some of those teams that we're playing well. If Oregon sucks this year and they're not a, top 40 team, playing 4 games against them hurts us. So we kind of need them to play well. We need some of those, Cal Irvine teams to play and be somebody that we need to beat as a big win and that kind of stuff. So I think our team is as deep as we've seen in a long time. Pitching, offensively, we're filling some big holes from last year, but we got some big time guys coming in. So I'm excited. I think we're going to be a regional hosting team, and hopefully in a lot of people's Omaha 8, including the actual Omaha 8.
I'm putting them in my way too early Omaha 8, Scott. They're the first team that's getting in my book, and I'm building this list down already. That I'm doing my preview shows with College Baseball Central. We're breaking down every conference. This is a team without a conference, so I'm putting them in right now. I don't have to wait for these conference shows to show up. I really believe the pedigree and what Mitch Canham has built here in this pitching staff and this coaching staff, what they've done with this team is electric, and they've built this team to be ready. This schedule sets up for them to be great in the postseason. I think they host. I think that they get an opportunity to be a national seed. I don't know if they're going to get over that hump and get there. I really don't know if the committee is going to give them a national seed with being an independent this year, this first year independent. We're going to have to see what the committee says. I believe that they go to Omaha. I will be there. I hope that the Beavers join us, but I will be there for sure. All right, Scott, thanks for joining me on the first Beavs of the Diamond here, preseason show. I'm going to be releasing one of these shows every single Monday. We're going to be doing a live show during season here. Scott might be able to join me for some. I'm going to have some other guests on also to join us for some. I really appreciate Scott taking the time to come in and join me. Thanks, buddy. Getting to talk some Beavs baseball. Can't wait.
Yeah, no, it's always fun to be on here. It's something I'm excited about baseball. They announced the save a date for January 24th for the Diamond Dinner. I'll send you a text afterwards. Make sure that you're in. It's fun to see that, that's always kind of the big get everybody pumped and get everybody excited about it. We'll kind of get a roster. We'll get a you see a guy in an arm sling at the Diamond Dinner. You have a pretty good idea that he's probably not pitching for us. So, it's that first look we get to kind of talk to players, see who the players are excited about, that kind of thing. And so when everybody's in there talking about one guy going, man, you got to see this guy. You got to see this guy throw. You got to see, whatever that is. Last year, everybody was talking Aiden May, and so, he came in, it wasn't as heralded, coming out of Arizona, but man, it came in here and everybody was talking about, like, you got to see this guy. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun to get in and do that. And I'm excited. I'm ready to go. Always a pleasure to be on here. Thanks for inviting me. And I'll always talk Beaver baseball with anybody.
That's a fact. We love it, man. Come up and see us at the games. We're always there. Scott makes it to a lot more than I do now that I got to come over a mountain, but I try to get out there whenever I can because I go to a lot of different games, as you guys know. But I always love being at home in Goss and being with all you wonderful Goss fans. So thanks for joining us here. Again, once season starts up, I'm going to be doing one of these every week, every Monday. They'll be going out live, and can't wait to join you guys all season long on the Beavs on the Diamond podcast.